Look at us. We're back and in the same place for the first podcast since ever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Don't get used to it. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, and you can tell I've got a little sickness. That's what happens when you fly long distances. But we're here and we're excited to give you the update since last week, all about real estate investing with Suzanne and Sarah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're almost through the month of January. Last week of January, can hardly believe it. And yeah, I think we've seen quite a little up and down happening this month. First week in January was feeling real busy. We had some slower weeks, and I feel the pressure building again.
Oh, yeah. People are reaching out, people wanting to sell, people wanting to buy, people also really interested in getting into the investment market here. People ask us all the time, did we miss the boat? And the answer is no. Like, there's always a deal to be had. And we're actually going to be featuring a deal on our social and hosting a meetup about it in February, about an on-market deal that had a sweet profit margin for our sellers, for our flippers. So, there are definitely deals to be had no matter what. And we always say, like, the best time to find them is in the winter when fewer people are looking, but you just never know.
Yeah. So what's happened in real estate for us this week, Suzanne? We had an offer come in on...
Yes.
We had an offer come in on a listing that we've had on the market for about 4 months.
Let's call it, wasn't it over 100 days?
Was it? Yeah. 30, 60, 90. Yeah, it's 4 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
100 days sounds like more than 4 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. And so we spent a few days negotiating on that. This particular listing, we have been advertising that there's an assumable loan with it, and the seller's pretty savvy and is open to creative financing. So we're trying to put together this deal, and after 100 days on market, we were in a position to get an asking price deal put together.
Yeah.
And a win. And what happened, Suzanne?
What happened? Here's what we'll tell you. Every real estate transaction is different, and we learn something every time, which is why we have this podcast, because we couldn't anticipate this stuff. We can't make this stuff up. We just learn as we go, as does every realtor. This is a situation where there's a divorce. However, there isn't a divorce decree in play that is forcing the sale. And the husband in this case is still living in the home, and he's got a sweet deal. I don't blame him. He doesn't have to sell. He can chill out and live there for another year, maybe 2 years before he has to sell, according to the decree that they expect to have. But there is nothing in writing saying you got to sell by this date. So we got this offer, and then it was like, oh crap. This is like the seller thinking, oh crap, this is real. And I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Which happens. It's a bummer for us on multiple levels, right? We want to help people move on. We invest a lot of time and energy into this. We do a lot of marketing. And more than that, it's just we care about our clients, and they got a sweet free offer. But ultimately, I think he would just rather stay in the house and ride it out and get his ducks in a row. There's a lot of stuff that happens. If you want to learn about how to sell your house during a divorce, go to our YouTube page. We have a great video about it, because there's a lot of moving pieces and parts, especially when one person's VA loan eligibility was the one that locked down this sweet rate on this place that has an affordable mortgage, but it's like $1 million house. But it's an affordable mortgage for one person to handle. What would you say? Did I miss any details?
I think you covered most of it. I think the moral of the story here is, and this is not the first time this has actually happened to us this year with a seller, we engage with a seller who feels flexible and knowledgeable, and that's the perception of everyone going in, but then they learn a lot through the listing process and the feedback that they get. And when shit gets real, then things tend to shift. So people are learning through their experiences with us. And it's a little unfortunate in that, again, we've spent our time and resources with these people. But I would say that in both of these instances, we have earned loyalty through this process, again, because we are here to do what's in their best interest. We've been doing everything humanly possible to facilitate solving their problems and getting them the best deal possible. And we continue to do that up to the very last minute. But we say over and over again that, yeah, real estate can be an emotional thing. And I think there's a lot wrapped up into this one in particular, especially divorce situations. And this is not our first divorce situation where things have fallen through because people just aren't quite ready. So I think we've learned to ask more questions around things being actually finalized and people paying each other off in terms of debt and liquidity, and also knowing
what's next.
What's next.
Like, do you have a plan for when you get an offer? Because you will get an offer. Mm-hmm. And I remember having that conversation, and it was just like, no, I'll figure it out when it happens, which is a fair answer when you've got lots of stuff and animals and children and like lots of things for anybody. It's a lot to think about and organize. So like, short story here is that we will ask more questions with divorce situations about paperwork and finalization. And we will also ask, where are you going next? Mm-hmm. Which also opens up an opportunity for us to help somebody in their next home, whether it's a rental, a midterm rental, somewhere to like land for a little while when they can store their stuff, or buying something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then moving on. So other clients we've got that are pretty active this week, doing a lot of home tours for one particular couple. And I think what's interesting about that is we've looked at a few houses with them over the past few weeks, and what I thought we were really heating up, a couple of the houses that I anticipated being gone by now are still there. So there's still room to negotiate on things, and sometimes patience pays as long as you're willing to let something go if there is another offer, someone who comes in and acts faster. But I think for this particular couple, patience is really paying off in terms of how we're going to be able to negotiate for them and the deal we're going to be able to get for them for their primary residence here. So I'm excited about that. We've got a lot more tours scheduled for the rest of this week, and I think we're in the position to be writing for them probably over the weekend.
And here's one interesting thing. We're working with some buyers that have a lower budget, right? So their top purchase price is $420,000 in Bend. And we got this text from them because we told them one of the other properties they were looking at didn't end up coming back on the market. And they wrote us and they were just like, oh, brutal. Like, honestly, Zillow is really depressing right now. And we, excuse me, we have sympathy for that. And we know that it's hard for folks with these budgets, but who still want to live in this beautiful place and work here and contribute to a thriving economy, which is why we all live here, right? Like, we love the lifestyle and the access to the outdoors and just the overall vibe of Bend. But yeah, it can be tough. But again, this is another case, I think, where patience is going to pay off. Like, we will find them the right place. It's just going to take some time. But we feel you out there when you're searching with a tight budget. Like, it can be depressing.
Yeah.
But we're here for you. And we will find you the deal.
Yeah. On the flip side, when we find them the deal, I think they're going to have very limited options to choose from, and they're just going to have to make a decision. Versus these other clients that I'm talking about right now too, which I think they have a lot of really great options in their hands right now, which I'm super excited for them about. They're at the 700 to 900, and yeah, there's a lot going on in Bend at that price point and a lot to choose from right now. So that's exciting. Love having choices.
For sure. We also connected with a new buyer that found us from our meetup events. So please come to our meetups or join our meetups. We'll make sure that we have the link in our show notes. And she found us there. And essentially, she's wanting to invest with her dad, which I think is a great idea, this whole co-investing idea. And this is also a topic that we'll cover in a meetup this year. Just how to pool your resources together and make a deal work for everybody. Like, maybe someone has the money and somebody else has the time but doesn't have the money. So how do you partner together to create a win for both of you? The person with the money maybe doesn't have the time, is working full time, so really exciting to talk to her and see how to help them build generational wealth, some passive income, hopefully, and just some long-term asset generation. So,
That was a fun meeting. It's really fun when you're meeting people at a point where they're ready to take action and you can tell that they're really listening and grateful for the guidance that you're providing, like the structure we're providing, and actually putting these bigger ideas that people have in their heads into like more actionable steps, right? And that's our main goal. And I'm also really love what she told us that she loved about us.
This is the best, you guys.
So she said that she had been watching our content. She loves our emails, and what she comes from California, which is obviously a different market than Oregon. And she's been living in Bend for 2 years. And she's like, I love the laid back lifestyle here in Bend. What I love about you girls is your hustle. She's like, I can tell you two are hustlers. And I just really appreciate the quick follow up. And the way I translate hustlers, I'm like, you mean we're professionals is what you mean. You mean we do this full time and we do this for a living. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was cute. And it made us reflect. We had another client that we helped close on a 3-unit STR at the end of December this past year. And they were also from California. And we had the same vibe from him. I think he really appreciated our hustle and our communication, but I think this is a public service announcement to all of our California buyers that we just want to advertise, and that business is done a little differently in Oregon. Diligence here on homes isn't quite the same. And I guess maybe you can speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, this buyer that we're talking about that bought the 3 STRs was just like taken aback by how non-detailed the seller disclosure form is in Oregon. And we don't write the forms. These are the standard forms that are provided. And that's all that the seller is required to disclose. Whereas in California, the disclosure laws are completely different, way more detailed, and much more in the favor of the buyer, honestly. But that's just not the case here. How do you remedy that? If you're wanting to know all those details, then it will be incumbent upon you as the buyer to pay for additional inspections and get behind drywall and see whatever you like.
I mean, this guy did
air quality radon. Yeah. I don't know. There's probably a ton of stuff like rodent inspections. There's tons of extra stuff that you can do if it brings you peace of mind. And that's just where you have to decide where you land on that risk scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the big differences for him too was it sounds like in California disclosures are provided before you go under contract as well. And so I think order of operations there was a little confusing for them also. And ultimately, sellers in Oregon don't have to actually even provide the disclosures. If they don't provide disclosures for you, you have the option to terminate. You have that contingency, all the way to the end, but you can't force anybody to give you disclosures here. So that's a big difference in doing business here in Oregon versus California.
Yeah. So even our hustler attitude cannot help.
Yeah, cannot solve that problem.
Yeah.
Also, our hustler attitude cannot help if the agent on the other side is not very good at their job. Oh. Also, sorry, that's a side note. But again, like we can only do so much in that department, which also contributes to transactions going well. Like we can only really speak for ourselves and what we're able to do.
Yeah. Sarah, I feel like you have some updates to share with us on your personal real estate investments and even your primary home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've got things happening in my real estate world. Closed on a new investment property last week, and it was closed a week late using a commercial loan product for this one's, in this case, a DSCR product. And I think really the story to tell here is it matters who you work with. The lenders you work with, the real estate partners you work with can make or break a deal.
For sure.
And in this case, they made my deal. While there were hiccups along the way, they're the ones that came to the rescue in the end and solved things.
And you can say with 100% confidence that no other lender could have gotten this deal done.
I can say that with 100% confidence. Yes.
No other lender.
Yeah. And it comes down to, ultimately, it comes down to relationships is really what saved this. But what happened towards the end of this transaction is with DSCR loans, if there are not leases in place, they have to do a rent comp analysis. And ultimately, the rent comp analysis falls back on how the appraiser it always comes back to the appraiser and how they worded things. And this particular property has 3 levels, and this home is built on a slope, and the appraiser called the lower level below grade, so they didn't end up counting the bedroom and bathroom that are below grade, and that caused the DSCR ratio to be lower than it needed to be in order to do the ADLTV that we had originally thought we were signing up for. And what ended up happening was the loan product we had stayed the same, but we ended up having to change the LTV to 75 LTV, and coming up with an extra $40,000 for a down payment wasn't something that I could just pull out of thin air today, and also have all the reserves needed as well, maybe one day. And so I was able to solve that with some gift funds and an additional loan coming from sources that were unexpected and that came to save the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, that was helpful. And I guess another news, if you've been following us, you might know that we invested in 2 fourplexes in St. Louis, Missouri last year, and we're just learning. We've just been talking about repositioning our money, and we currently have one of our fourplexes under contract with a wholesaler at a price that I would have listed it for myself, and not holding my breath there. But guys, the idea with why we're all doing this is because we know that time is our greatest asset, right? Is our most valuable asset. And we are self-managing these properties in St. Louis. And while we could make that change, we've just decided not to. And I think by selling these, it's just going to buy us back a whole lot more time and freedom and less stress. And I don't regret one bit of it, but it'll just be fun to see. So check in with me in a few months. Hopefully I will have gotten rid of 8 doors. So we made these vision boards.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So we made these vision boards, which we do every year now. And I had accidentally put -8 doors as opposed to plus
Like
8
a
doors.
dash.
Like a dash. Yeah. Because I was like, multifamily. -8 doors, and I'm pretty sure that was the universe telling me, Sarah, get rid of your 8 doors. And so I'm like, all right, fine. All right, here we go. So on my way. It's been fun. It's been real. It's not been real fun, but I've learned a lot. So you guys can learn from it as well by tapping into our experiences.
Yes, you will hear the update because that's what we do.
Yeah.
We share the good, the bad, and the lessons. So updates on my real estate portfolio. I got cashed out of my very first private money loan a couple of weeks ago, which was really nice. And it was very large spread. So I'll be talking about that in June about some of my deals. So that one's done and back. And then got a couple more out. I just funded another one yesterday. And the big one that we have out was a 3-month minimum. So we gave them 12 months, but we said, I'll get paid a minimum of 3 months interest. And they called me a couple days ago and said, hey, the house is under contract and we should have it sold by the end of February. And I was like, sweet. All right.
What does a big one constitute to you?
6 figures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's
multiple
sweet.
6 figures. So yeah, that one's good. And then I just had a call with a couple people today who want to get in on just maybe having more of a JV fund where we have funds that are allocated to them and they throw in some wholesale deals here and there and some long-term holds in there. So we have both the quick money to be keeping deals going as well as some passive income and cash flow from the rentals. That one's exciting. Definitely a lot more complex, and I'm leaning on my mastermind group and coach for some guidance on that. But we have a template to follow, and so I'll be able to share more about how that is coming together. But yeah, it's pretty exciting because what it helps me with is like my money can be pretty much deployed and working the whole time. And for them, they get paid a set amount for every wholesale deal that they dump into the deal. So it pays for their marketing costs, which that's the biggest risk when you're a wholesaler. That's your biggest outlay is marketing, getting leads, bringing people in. So it helps offset their risk, offsets my opportunity cost. The money is actually working. So yeah,
so fascinating.
I'm learning a lot. Yeah, more to come.
We'll learn a lot from you in June.
Yeah.
You'll have a few more under your belt by then, I'm sure.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling personally, Suzanne? It's been a big transition for you coming back from Europe and here in Oregon. And what lesson have you learned personally this week?
Maybe I should wear a mask on the plane or not get a deep tissue massage 3 days before I fly. But my lesson is I need to give myself a little more time to acclimate, because as this eternal optimist, I'm like, okay, I land on Saturday, I'll be home ready to go on Monday. And yeah, I booked my gym appointments and we had like events scheduled, early meetings and stuff. And then it was just like, oh yeah, no, I spent 36 hours in bed, like sick and jet lagged and in the NyQuil haze. Yeah, so that, and then just also giving myself time to adjust to being in a different place, a different pace, a different overall environment. We live rurally currently, and there are things about it that I love. The peace, the quiet, being able to have no drapes and walk around however I want. I just love that, and just like seeing less pavement and more
Nature.
Soil, yeah, and nature. But contrast that with being in European cities and walking out the door and being at one of 17 bakeries in like a 0.25 mile radius, and walking to the grocery store. Everything is so accessible. And the train, like we didn't have a car except for one weekend in 2 months. We walked everywhere, and like my steps on my phone, it's crazy. I was averaging over 12 to 14,000 steps a day. Not from running, just from getting out and doing the little errands, because your refrigerator is this big. No joke.
You have to go shopping every day.
Every single day. And like when you're in France, you go and you get a baguette every single day. And so now I'm back and I'm like, France bread? Ugh. Just can't be bothered.
Perfect. Yeah. So Suzanne's lesson is give herself more grace and not as much pressure on herself to perform when she's in these transitions.
Which only happens when you have an amazing partnership. Yeah. And so I'm just so grateful for that. And that's been my lesson too, is just learning when to ask for help or just say, I need some time, which is, I find to be hard. It's hard.
I get it.
Yeah. I'm still like in my corporate mentality of, I didn't sign up for a sick day. I gotta go in and do my things. And I still have that, no, I'm fine, I can do it mentality.
If it's urgent, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
And even then you can tell me no. I'll say for myself this week, I finally have said to myself, I'm not sure if I need more.
Ooh.
Which is so weird, right? How weird is that? I was like, wow, life is really good right now. And I think I can continue to afford it the way it is. And we can continue to keep this like a little bit slower pace and have hobbies again and free time, which is just so weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I don't need more anymore. I want more, sure. But I don't feel like I need it, which is just so good.
Yes.
That's a different
So you're not like reaching right now.
No, I'm like, wow, I really like the way things feel right now. And I think in the past it's been like, and I think a small part of me is still like, can I continue to afford this? But I think I can. I don't see any reason why I can't.
I mean, you'll rent out your primary. You'll be living in your former primary, living in your new one. You'll have St. Louis sold, so you'll have that money back in the bank that you can then deploy however you want. Maybe short term you invest and help some private money loans, or dip your toe in that until you find the right deal.
Yep. So I'm just excited about not, like you said, keep reaching, which feels really good. And it's funny, it's not a lack of motivation or any means, or like feeling stagnant or feeling stuck. It's just, I like this right now. I want to turn the dial down so it can slow down.
Yes.
It's just kind of fun.
I love that. So good. That's such a great place to be. To just be like satisfied.
It's weird.
Yeah, I know.
It's an unusual feeling.
I can relate. And that's what we share so much of, is just that ambition and that drive and that next, like bigger, better, faster, more efficient. So that's I'm really excited to hear that and like to learn from you, because I think I tend to just be in the more category. So it's good to slow down.
Yeah, feels good. And the only reason we can do that is because of what we've built. And it's all through real estate and investing. Like literally that is the only reason, because I bought my first house 11, 12 years ago.
Yes, so totally.
That's why we're here, is just to hopefully inspire and encourage all of you to do the same.
So I think just to wrap up today's podcast episode, the theme for today and this last week is just riding the waves. And the waves come in our personal lives, right? In our professional lives, in our own real estate transactions. Sarah had the ups of like, we're closing. Oh yeah, no, we're not. Oh, we're closing again. Oh, it's going to be like a few more days, right? Yep. And same with me. Like I'm traveling in Europe and I'm like sipping coffees every day and eating dollar baguettes. And then, then I have a long flight home and I get sick and I'm laid up for almost 2 days and adjusting to a new place and space and pace. And I'm riding that wave too of just, oh yeah, adjustment, right? Mm-hmm. It's all about adjustment. And I think that even relates to with some of the sellers that we talked about at the beginning, right? Yep. Things change in our lives. And when big things happen, like you get an offer on your house and then you're like, oh gosh, it's been on the market for 4 months. I thought I was just chilling here. It's another wave of what am I going to do? Yeah, I think it's all about the waves. And I think from the market standpoint, we feel the pressure starting to build. We feel more people reaching out about potentially selling. We've got a potential Sun River listing. We've got some land out in La Pine. We've got a condo in Sun River. We've got a few other things in the hopper for some of our sellers that are just trying to target the right time and season, making sure the snow is melted in South County and that we're hitting the peak. Yeah. What else?
I think what I want to say is at the end of the day, the riding of these waves, like with our seller, for example, it could have been a full stop. And I think he hit this roadblock a few times. And what we did was we picked up the phone and showed him that we were there to actually support him and solve his problems, right? And just continue to make sure that we're aligned. And I feel like that also translates to how we're interacting personally and professionally. So I think just really at the end of the day, it's still, this real estate game is just, it's all about relationships. And yes, it's transactional. And yes, this is how we support ourselves. Yes, this is how we make money and we depend on this as a business. But really, there's this level of trust there and relationship there that we wouldn't all be getting through this, and we wouldn't be as successful as we are without this actual connection and taking the time to build this trust and ask those questions and make sure that we really understand each other and that we know like where we're coming from and where we're going. So yeah, I don't know, just like, it's just interesting to share different spaces and different experiences with people. Yeah, I don't know. It's just why I love this so much.
I know. And I think you hit the nail on the head and really brought it all together there at the end. It is all about the partnerships, our partnership with our sellers and our buyers, our partnerships with our lenders, with our private money borrowers. So it really is all about that and nurturing those and coming in with compassion. And that's what I learn from Sarah every day. She brings her full heart into everything she does every single day, where I can be a little more, I don't know, corporate, structured, a little less personable in some cases. So I'm learning that piece from you. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hope you guys can learn it too. And we're here for you in the same way. We're here for our current clients, and let's build a relationship.
All right.
See you next week.
See you next time.